This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
It's the weekend. We're ready for it, and we're ready for another good day of Stanley Cup playoff hockey. Spring's trying to arrive. It's that time of year. Everybody's getting excited. Got you covered because there's so much going on in the National Hockey League, of course, with the Stanley Cup playoffs, but all around the NHL as well. There are teams that have been eliminated from the postseason, some that didn't make it, but there's moves and things going on with other teams in the National Hockey League as well. We got you covered there. Plus the latest on all the Stanley Cup playoff matchups. Boston and Tampa Bay in the afternoon, San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights in the evening. Guest lineup is a good one for today. Kristen Anderson will join us. She covers the Calgary Flames for Post Media. They've been busy since the end of the season. Jim Diamond, our friend in Nashville, who covers the Nashville Predators for the Associated Press and Rinkside Report, here with a discussion about what did happen in that game at Bridgestone Arena on Friday night. How come the Winnipeg Jets were victorious over the Nashville Predators? We'll get into that and much more. Pittsburgh Penguins were also winners in game number 1 of their second-round series against the Washington Capitals. Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette will join us later on in the program. Those teams have an off day, an extra off day on Saturday. They will resume on Sunday. Sarah Mclellan covers the Minnesota Wild for the Minneapolis Star Tribune, another team that has been busy since the end of their season. A new general manager will be installed with the Minnesota Wild. We'll talk to Sarah Mclellan about that and a bunch of other things with the Minnesota Wild and the National Hockey League. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Saturday edition. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, live at hockeyunfiltered.com and streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app powered by Primetime Radio. And, of course, because it is Saturday, something that we do every Saturday, our HU Dog of the Day, the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day, where we recognize great dogs. Send us a photo through Twitter, through Instagram, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog. Tell us why you love your dog, how you came together. Include your name, your dog's name. We'd like to recognize and acknowledge great dogs. We'll pick a winner before the end of the program, and the photo will go up on our Facebook page, on our website, and through our social media channels. Looking forward to a good Saturday, a good weekend. It's the last weekend of April. It's almost May. As I mentioned, spring's trying to arrive. It's getting closer. The Stanley Cup playoffs are moving on. We're nicely into round number 2. The final series of round number 2, the Boston Bruins Tampa Bay Lightning, gets underway on Saturday afternoon. This is the last one to begin, of course, because the Bruins went the full 7 with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And oh yeah, speaking of drama, there's been a whole bunch of it in Toronto Maple Leaf land the last couple of days. A lot of it's stupid. Sensibly, though, the NHL gave the Bees just a little extra time off before having to ramp things up and go up against the Tampa Bay Lightning in their second-round series. This is going to be a good series. Actually, there's a really good storyline or 10 in all of the second-round matchups. I'm really interested, though, to see what happens with Boston and Tampa. The other second-round series have all had some kind of surprise and twist and turn in game number 1. Look at the Washington Capitals and Pittsburgh Penguins. Caps are up. It's 2-0. We're in the third period. Pittsburgh comes back and slams them. Vegas pounded the San Jose Sharks 7-0. 7-0. Who, even if you were picking Vegas in that series, who picked that to happen? But we've seen a bunch of lopsided games through the early part of the playoffs. And how about on Friday night, as mentioned, the Winnipeg Jets survived a barrage of shots from the Nashville Predators. And mostly with the help of Connor Hellebuck, took game 1 from the Nashville Predators Friday night and Bridgestone Arena. Now, I'm going to try to ignore the whining that's gone on about the playoff format and how come these two teams aren't meeting in the conference final. They were two of the best teams, the two best teams in the West. It's useless. It's dumb. And the same thing in the East, because Tampa and Boston is the same sort of thing. This is the playoff format. You have to play within it. just move on and deal with it. You can whine about it all you want, and when the league does go to 32 teams and you can balance out the schedule better, fine. But at the moment, this is the system. Just move on. And so what? It's still a great matchup. You've got two teams that are pretty healthy. They're rested. They're going head to head. They got all their best players. Everybody's feeling good. They haven't been beat up by 2 months of playoff hockey. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to embrace it as I did on Friday night. I love this game one. All the hype leading up into the start of this series, then the last couple of days, it's been terrific. Winnipeg is having to close more and more streets because of the viewing parties that they want to hold outside. The crowds they're expecting to grow to enormous numbers. Wait till the series moves back to Winnipeg. They're going to have to shut the whole city down. I think this is awesome. I think it's fantastic. If you got to close the whole downtown because your city is captivated with the series, I think it's great. In Nashville, well, we've been seeing for some time that they embrace a party in this city. Got the smash car out in front. That became popular last year. And I don't know who came up with the idea. I don't know who came up with this idea, but out front of Bridgestone Arena, they kicked it up a notch for this series because whoever had this brilliant idea to find a plane and paint it up with Jets and a nice touch, the Atlanta Thrashers logo on it as well. Well done, whoever started that one. That was fantastic. I put out the photo on our Instagram account yesterday. Nice job, Nashville. Really well done. I think that's funny. That's embracing the spirit. That's enjoying it. And what a game on Friday. Dierks Bentley, solid choice for the anthem. You always have the mystery anthem singer, which Nashville Stars are going to be. Nashville sets a team record with shots in the first period against an opponent. They rip 20 at Connor Hellebuck. Stops them all. No problem. And on top of that, Winnipeg scores one of their own. Was a little stunned after that. Was a little bit stunned in the building after that. Preds got one early in the third after Winnipeg had scored two more in the second period. Mark Scheifele locks this one up with the empty netter. Not that there was really any concern of a comeback, I don't think, in the final minute, but Mark Scheifele hustles up the ice to negate the icing, tucks it in the goal. It was pretty something special on Friday night. Surprised me. I did pick Winnipeg in the series, but it surprised me that they came out and won the first game. This game, though, on Friday night between the Winnipeg Jets and the Nashville Predators, 4-1 the final, Winnipeg with the victory. This game illustrates perfectly how the score does not necessarily tell the entire story of how the game was played. Preds had way more chances on goal. They were firing shots from everywhere. Jets capitalized on a small number of chances, and they stole the win. Now, everyone post-game is trying to give their assessment of the game and what happened. It's kind of interesting. We heard positive comments from both sides, both the Jets and the Nashville Predators. But game one lived up to this billing of lots of great skill, lots of great talent on both sides. There was plenty of physical play, I thought, in this game too. Both teams were using the physical element as part of their arsenal to try to help get them to victory. Hits were 29-22 in favor of the Nashville Predators. I guess that sounds about right. And maybe that's part of the issue. We'll talk a little bit more about this later on this hour with Jim Diamond from AP and Rinkside Report when he joins us. Maybe the Preds were trying to be a little too physical in not the right direction. Maybe instead of trying to inflict hits, they just need to be more physical as they try to approach the front of the net and into the slot area. I can't wait to see how this series plays out, though. It's going to be fun, going to be interesting. I think it's really cool. One thing I will say about this series, Nashville has been kind of the darlings of a lot of U.S. fans and hockey fans because of the great atmosphere, the enormous crowds that they generated out on Broadway to watch the game and pregame concerts prior, the atmosphere, lots of success as well. Of course, they won the President's Trophy last year, had a big run in the playoffs, came up a little bit short. This year, they came back. They've made some changes. They've made some additions to their roster. They got lots of attention. They did lots of winning. Had the best record in the league. got the President's Trophy, so that creates a natural narrative that this is the team that went there last year, came up a bit short. This is the team that we should be focused on this year. They're keen on not necessarily righting a wrong, but fixing that and taking the final step. Winnipeg, though, it's a Jets team that it's not a big city. It's not a sexy city. But if you haven't watched the Winnipeg Jets as much because of where they're located and don't necessarily play your favorite team, they're good. And they're going to be good for a long time. They are very good. Posted a great story from Frank Saravelli of TSN.ca about how the Jets were constructed over the last couple of years. General manager Kevin Cheveldayoff, how he decided and came to the conclusion that what they had previously, when they did make the playoffs, this wasn't a team that was good enough. They needed to be better if they were going to be successful in the way that the game was moving, and how he had to get ownership, Coach Paul Maurice, on board, and how he used his players to get them to that point. It's a fascinating read. Goes back to the decision. They're in the playoffs, but you know what? They get eliminated. They're not good enough. And Kevin Cheveldayoff realized it. They weren't going to go any further. They weren't going to get any better with the kind of lineup that they currently had. It was going to take time. There was going to be some pain and growing difficulties, but they endured that and all the criticism that was hurled in their direction. Now the Winnipeg Jets are going to start reaping the benefits, and so are their fans. They are a fun team to watch. But also, looking at that choice and decision that was made by the Winnipeg Jets and reading about it, how it all came together, and now they are just starting to crack open the door as one of the top teams in the NHL and will be for years to come. Makes me think how many other teams are or should be doing the same thing. It's going to cost you some time. It's going to be some difficulty, but there are rewards, significant rewards, at the end of the process. New York Rangers, I think, are a team like that. I think the Ottawa Senators are a team like that. I think the LA Kings figured that out last year when they dismissed their coaching staff, their general manager, and started to turn over their roster. Maybe Dallas is a team like that. Maybe Minnesota is a team that's in a similar spot. Maybe Anaheim is a team that should look at something like this and say, maybe this is the approach we need to take. Now, this does not necessarily mean cutting it down to the studs and completely rebuilding your roster, because the Winnipeg Jets still have a number of players from that previous playoff team, and in fact, a number of significant players. Brian Little, Blake Wheeler, but they've also brought in a bunch of other players. They've gotten younger, they've gotten faster, more skill emphasis. And maybe that's something that we need to see from some other teams as well. Bunch of other observations from the early part of this series. The others that are underway, we'll look ahead to game number 1 between the Boston Bruins and Tampa Bay Lightning, set to go on Saturday afternoon. Also a bit of a setup for the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. The evening game, no Evander Kane for San Jose, because he is suspended for game number 2. Jonas Donskoi expected to play, but is kind of a game-time decision as well. The latest on the lineups and much more. We'll look ahead to the other series as well. Later on this hour, Jim Diamond from AP and Rinkside Report with more on the Preds and the Winnipeg Jets from Friday night. Kristen Anderson will join us shortly to talk about the Calgary Flames, their new head coach, and what's ahead. Jason Mackey with the latest on the Penguins, and Sarah Mclellan talking about the Minnesota Wild as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Looking for your nominations for the HU Dog of the Day. Send them to us via Twitter, via Instagram. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. Send us your photos. We like to recognize and honor great dogs. We'll pick a winner. The photo goes up on our website and on our Facebook page. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back to talk Calgary Flames with Kristen Anderson after the break.
Send you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
It's the Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, live at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Busy couple of hours getting you set for 2 games on the Saturday playoff schedule, plus covering all that is going on in the National Hockey League. Calgary Flames have been one of the busier teams since their season came to an end. Kristen Anderson covers the Flames for Post Media. You can follow her on Twitter at k.anderson. And she joins us now. Kristen, appreciate the time. And you've been, as I mentioned, you've been one of the busier teams since the end of the season. Let's start with the most recent news, and that is that team president Brian Burke is stepping away and relinquishing his duties as team president officially May the 1st, although I imagine he's not going to be very busy between now and then. Was this a surprise to you? But it seems as though that there's plenty of good hockey people in the Flames organization, so the time is right now.
I think with Brian Burke, his hiring in the beginning in 2013 was for really to, obviously it was a bit of a succession plan with Jay Feaster and John Weisbrod. They eventually did get let go in December of that year, so of that 13-14 season. So when the Flames originally hired Brian Burke, it was a bit of a mentor role for whoever was going to be the GM, and took his time to hire the right person, and he eventually did hire Brad Treliving. So really been working as a bit of an advisor for Brad Treliving for the past few years. So it really hasn't been and he's obviously been involved in the community and been a big figure. Hasn't really been in the media much, and really deferring everything to Brad Treliving. And sort of, I think this comes at a good time in the sense that it's just sort of time for him to move on. Really, he was just a bit of a figurehead in the community and involved in charity work here in Calgary, and worked on communication to the shareholders and stakeholders, and so it kind of comes. It doesn't come as a surprise. I think he enjoyed his time in Calgary. and now he's moving on to a broadcasting role with Sportsnet in the covering the playoffs right now. So it'll be interesting to see how he enjoys the other side of it, the media side of it, and obviously he's very colorful. And I did a list of quotables, so dating back to 2013, and he was always good for a soundbite, a very straight shooter, but helped Brad kind of steer the ship and made some good decisions. And now it's sort of Brad's team, and Brad's really left his mark on it. So it came at a good time, I think, for Brian Burke to move on.
The other big change, of course, has been the dismissal of Glenn Gulutzan as the head coach and the hiring this past week of Bill Peters as the new head coach. He, though, is off to coach in the World Championships at the moment. But I'm wondering if Brad Treliving, as the general manager, soured quickly on Glenn Gulutzan as the head coach. That I don't know that there was a real inkling about a change being imminent through the midpoint of this season, even though the Flames seemed to struggle and didn't really achieve what many thought was their potential. But was it the last month and a half of the season that really turned the tide against Glenn Gulutzan?
I think so. I think Brad Treliving said all the right things at the end of the season, in that they were going to evaluate everything and top to bottom. And I think that, you probably started to see that the team really wasn't, maybe, like, Glenn Gulutzan is a wonderful person. He's a great man. He really developed some great relationships with the players, and he was a players coach, and the media really liked him. But in terms of decision making, in terms of in-game decisions and situational calls, like, there is just something missing, I think, with Glenn Gulutzan, and that was going to be the case from day one. I mean, it's been a long time since he's been a head coach, but really doesn't have all that much experience. But I think the Flames were sort of willing to learn with him, and then they got to the playoffs last year, and so that was kind of like an interesting thing. So, but was it coaching? Was it luck? Was it a bit of both? It was hard to say. So then this year rolled around, and there was a few different instances where it just seemed like things weren't working for him, and this team just wasn't really, either listening to him, or it wasn't getting through to them in the right way. So you bring in Bill Peters, who's a totally different guy. He leads in a totally different way. He's very direct. He's going to be hard on these players, and if they buy in, I think that there's a good chance that they can have some success. But it just wasn't the right combination, I think, with having Glenn Gulutzan with the Flames in this specific group. There's still a lot of young players: Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, Matthew Tkachuk, and it's only going to get younger when Juuso Valimaki comes up on the defensive side of things, and Rasmus Andersson, and and this team, you're absolutely right when you said this team largely underachieved this year. Like, on paper, heading into last season, like, they were supposed to be in the playoffs right now, and they're not. So the Brad Treliving was forced to make a change, and I think you have to look at blame. Like, everybody shares the blame when you don't make the playoffs, but unfortunately, something has to give, and that was Glenn Gulutzan. So Bill Peters has an interesting record. I mean, he hasn't been in the playoffs either. He hasn't, in his 4 years in Carolina, hasn't had a great record, and the players were tuning him out by the end of it. So, I don't think these coaches have a short shelf life. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate part about being a coach in the NHL. But Bill Peters is from Alberta. He's from Three Hills. He coached in Alberta before with the University of Lethbridge Pronghorn. So I think and he's coached in the WHL, so he's familiar with the area. He's familiar with what the demands are of playing hockey, NHL hockey in Alberta, in Canada. So I think that I'm interested to see how the players respond to his kind of rough and tough demeanor.
Kristen Anderson is our guest. She covers the Calgary Flames for Post Media. Follow her on Twitter at @K.Anderson. A lot of change with the Calgary Flames. And as you mentioned, the team seemed to be underachieving this year. They were expected to be in the playoffs. And I'm also curious about the point of Bill Peters, that he's coached a young team in Carolina. Granted, that's one that really needed to restock the cupboard, and there weren't that many resources available to him until recently. But I'm just wondering why so much of a different result is expected with the Calgary Flames. I'm wondering too, are the expectation for the Flames was playoffs, and everyone seems to agree that they underachieved. But was the success of the Calgary Flames also maybe overestimated? Did they think this team was better than it actually is?
That's an excellent point you make, because like was it a very overrated team on paper? I mean, and you know, I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that at this point, because like they didn't make the playoffs, so it's hard to tell what this team really was. And there was times when you know, when the top line was firing on all cylinders. They have an elite top line in Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan. They do need I think they need a top right winger. They need some scoring, because they did not have secondary scoring when it came down to the wire in the final kind of 2 months of the season. They had, you know, Matthew Tkachuk was poised for a good year too, and he got injured in the final month. So I mean, you know, how, and you know, arguably in his first year he went to the playoffs and kind of struggled. Matthew Tkachuk struggled in the playoffs, so it's like you wanted to see how he was going to do, and then you know, he gets injured in the last month of the season, so it's kind of hard to get a gauge on how his year went. But he is a heart and soul player. You know, and it will be ready to come back next year. So and then Michael Frolik had a bit of an off year. Michael Backlund was concentrated on his contract, and then Michael Frolik was injured. And then really they didn't have any secondary scoring beyond that. They really struggled. Sam Bennett, you know, we're still trying to figure out what he is in the NHL, and he had a tough year. And then you look at the back end, they bring in Travis Hamonic, who's supposed to solidify their top four defensemen, and he did for the most part. Like, he's not a flashy player. He's a heart and soul player, and you know, was smart defensively, but really struggled to develop chemistry with TJ Brody. So maybe the Flames look at that, maybe moving a guy like TJ Brody, who had a tough year. And then Mark Giordano and Dougie Hamilton. Like, Dougie Hamilton is a nice piece, right shot defenseman, still young, and is he a trade bait for the Flames this summer? So and they brought in a goaltender like Mike Smith, who is what he is. He is 35. He'll be 37 when his contract is over with the Flames, but put up some really nice numbers, and you know, proved to be a bit of a savior on a lot of the nights. And but then got injured, came back, and really tried to do too much. So it's a bit of both. I mean, was this team, did they estimate how much they could actually accomplish as a group, or did they just not have the right stuff? Sometimes it isn't all the best players, as you're seeing with the Vegas Golden Knights. Sometimes it's just a matter of chemistry and working the right way and all buying into the same system. And the Flames certainly didn't do that this year. So bringing in a guy like Bill Peters, who, you know, maybe has a bit of a different structure, is a bit of a different leader, a different voice. You know, maybe that will be the turning point for the Flames, but definitely they need to make some changes when you look at their roster, for sure. I think you need to look at their secondary scoring, you need to evaluate their blue line, and they need to figure out a succession plan for Mike Smith in goal.
Yeah, I agree with you that Mike Smith did save them on a number of occasions, but with the team that has the defense core that they did, they were not as strong defensively as you would expect from the Calgary Flames. And the other thing that you mentioned is that this is a roster that's probably going to get younger, and I can see that as well. And I think that's going to be really interesting. How long do players like Troy Brouwer or Chris Versteeg have on this kind of roster, or do you push younger players into some of those roles? Spencer Fu, for example, is that going to be something that helps the Calgary Flames next season? I think there could be a significant change to the roster next year.
Oh, and there should be. There has to be. Like, you can't. Like, Troy Brouwer, you know, they overpaid for him at free agency, for sure. Like, it is what it is, and he is what he is at this point in his career. He's making no bones about it either. So, like, but like, I mean, is he a third liner at this point? Is he a fourth liner? Like, and he was playing a lot of key roles for the team, and like, I don't know if that was as effective Chris Versteeg, again, was injured, had hip surgery, and then kind of came back during the season. So, I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the season, so tough to say if he'll be back. And Matt Stajan, again, I think that you're seeing kind of last of him. Maybe gets a 1-year contract, but I don't think that maybe, it's tough because they're, so loyal to a guy like Matt Stajan, but, maybe it's time to move on from a guy like that. You should be getting younger. You should be getting faster. And the Flames certainly didn't show signs of that. They did bring up, Mark Jankowski, who had a nice season. He's been in their system for a really long time, for like 5 years, since the 2012 draft. Spencer Fu, as you mentioned, a nice prospect coming up, but is he ready for everyday NHL life? I'm not sure. There's a few different, few of the young pieces and important to note that the Flames don't have a first or second round draft pick at this year's draft. So, whether it's getting better through trades, they're going to have to do something.
I think Kristen Anderson's going to be really busy this offseason. She covers the Flames for Post Media. At K.Anderson is how you follow her on Twitter. Really good info and discussion. Kristen, appreciate the time and hope we can do it again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, Kristen Anderson covering the Calgary Flames. Great point about Mark Jankowski, who, boy, was he a project. Everybody, when he was drafted by the Flames, everybody kind of went, huh? Okay, you're taking him here, but he's going to turn into a nice NHL player. Spencer Fu, still a work in progress. But yeah, there's a bunch of work to be done on this Calgary Flames roster. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of coaching staff as well with Bill Peters. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Looking for your HU Dog of the Day nominations there. We'll pick a winner before the end of the show. Lots to get into. We'll go back and talk about the game number 1 between the Winnipeg Jets and the Nashville Predators on Friday night. Jets coming out victorious on the road. Jim Diamond from AP and Rinkside Report will join us to talk more about the Preds and the Jets after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. A busy one, lots to get into. 2 games on the Saturday schedule in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Boston and Tampa Bay will open up their series in the afternoon. It's game 2 between the San Jose Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday evening. Friday, it was the Nashville Predators and Winnipeg Jets, game number 1 of their second round matchup, and it was the visitors that came out on top. 4-1 is the final. Jets take a 1-0 series lead. Our friend Jim Diamond covers the Preds for AP and Rinkside Report. You can follow him on Twitter at Diamond Hockey. Jim, I think your game 1 haiku summed things up nicely. I really like them, by the way. So much for home ice. Outshot them like a mother. Concern for Watson. I think everybody said the right things after this game, and this was, if it were the regular season, I think everyone would slough it off really easy as just one of those nights, but because it's a short series, everybody's trying to dial in and focus on whether or not there's an issue a little closer, I think.
Yeah, and you precisely summed up, one of Peter Laviolette's quotes after the game. He said, regular season, if we're moving in the right direction and we see that, you outshoot a team as badly as they did tonight, you feel okay. But he basically said, if you're asking me if I'd rather have the win or our game, I'd rather have their win. So it was a weird game, very lopsided shot totals, but Predators didn't have a tremendous number of good scoring chances, but they had enough that they probably should have cashed a couple more in. But Vancouver didn't have many at all and found the back of the net when they did.
Yeah, it was. It's okay. We knew you meant. We knew you meant Winnipeg. That's okay. It was a funny game in that the score and some of the statistics didn't really tell the story as well. A lot of shots, as you mentioned, by Nashville, but I didn't find them to have a lot of second chances and scoring chances from the really good area out in front of Connor Hellebuck.
No, and there was one key play in the game. The Predators had a late second period power play, and Philip Forsberg had almost the entire net to shoot at on a one-timer, rang it off the post, and then, 20, 30 seconds later, Winnipeg went down and scored to make it 3-0. So that was a huge turning point. Philip Forsberg hits that shot 99 times out of 100, but just for whatever reason, it ended up in the, hitting the post and then going back the other way. So that the air completely went out of Bridgestone Arena at that point when, if he puts that in, it's 2-1 late in the second, getting the crowd involved. It's a completely different game then.
It seems as though that I don't know, maybe the course of action is that everybody now has had a chance to go home, sleep. They'll kind of process everything today. And I think as much as anything, Peter Laviolette needs to take the temperature of the Predators team just to make sure that everybody has put it behind them in advance of game number 2 and focus on the mission ahead. Can't be worrying about what's taken place already. It's important that they go back out and get a victory in game number 2. And a lot of that that's going to result from doing a lot of the same things they did in game number 1.
Right, and if you look back to the series with Colorado, this is almost an exact blueprint of what happened in that game. Game 5 in Nashville, they completely outshot Colorado, and the Hamburglar made however many 40-something saves to basically steal the game, to make it 3-2 and force it back to Colorado. And then in Game 6, the Predators just absolutely dominated and won in a shutout. So I think they have a lot of recent experience. This exact type scenario. So it's not hard to forget that the Predators were the best team in the league during the regular season, but Winnipeg finished 3 points behind them. So they're an outstanding team. These teams are very close. So I still think it'll be a long series, but
Jim Diamond is our guest. Yeah, sorry, we're here. You faded out for just a quick second there, Jim. All good. Jim Diamond is covering. Still with me, Jim?
I am. Sorry.
That's okay. It seems as though one of the things I noticed in the game on Friday with the Preds and the Winnipeg Jets is that we got much more from the Kyle Turris line in this game than we had seen in the previous series against the Colorado Avalanche. And again, I think it's just they were due. They were expected to play better, and now we're starting to see it from them.
Right. They were even self-admittedly basically awful in that whole Colorado series. Kyle Turris, Kevin Fiala, and Craig Smith was okay. But Turris and Fiala were not just invisible, but not good in a visible way. So they really took it upon themselves to change that. And almost from the opening faceoff, they were engaged. They had a tough shift on Winnipeg's first goal, but all in all, they looked noticeably better and really had an effect on the game, even though they didn't win. But they were so good. Basically that line was put together right when that Kyle Turris trade happened, and they stayed together. The rest of the season, they're very good together. So you really had to think that first series against Colorado was an anomaly, and the Predators are going to need them to contribute both ends of the ice if they hope to move on from this series.
Now, I know it's a bit early to hope for any sort of update on Austin Watson, but what might happen to the Preds lineup if he is unable to participate in game number 2? Any speculation on your part?
That's a great question. The safe option is either Scott Hartnell or Ryan Hartman, who Hartman has been in the doghouse since he took that bad penalty in game 5, was a healthy scratch in game 6, as well as last night. The wild card would be Eeli Tolvanen, who's had a while off here since he came over. Played a couple of games in the regular season, but for a team that needs to score goals, I think I'd put Tolvanen in just as kind of the wild card. The Predators have enough guys that can defend and play kind of two-way hockey. They need somebody that can score goals. So if it's up to me, I give Tolvanen a shot and see what the kid's made of as far as playoff hockey is concerned.
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want to be the only one suggesting it. I think it would be great, and I think it would be a bit of the unknown and unexpected that got into the lineup as well. And the other thing with Nashville is they're a physical enough team. They out-hit the Winnipeg Jets last night, 29-22 in the statistics, and I wondered if they were kind of misdirecting their physical play a little bit, as opposed to looking for hits and hitting the other players. Use that physical nature that they do have in some of their players, especially to just to find their way toward the front of the net.
I think there's something to that, especially, hits can sometimes be misleading, especially in a game where one team badly outshoots the other team. It kind of gives an indication that they've had the puck most of the game. And when the team that outshoots the other team badly has more hits, it seems a little off, like that probably shouldn't be happening. So I think you're right. There is something to that. And I think there was some frustration on the Predators' part that, they outshot them 20-4 in the first period and come out on the wrong end of a 1-0 score. So, frustrations can build up, but again, that fourth line, that Mike Fisher line, was trying to make something happen. So they were out looking to separate some Jets from the puck, and they actually did have a pretty effective game.
And with the goal that the Preds did score early on in the third period, we really got to see the high skill level that they're capable of as well. So much of the first two periods was one shot from kind of far out, and there wasn't really a lot of second or even sometimes a third chance that we get to see in some plays. But we really got to see the high skill level that the Nashville Predators have on display. And when when they can make the space and create those plays, they are a force to be reckoned with. And I guess you said it, in that frustration, the worst thing would be for Nashville to have that frustration get into them in game number 2.
Right, and a lot of Nashville's offense starts with their defense, and that goal started with Ryan Ellis. He's such a threat from the blue line that everyone was kind of respecting that, but he kind of made almost a fake shot pass to Kyle Turris down to the right of the goal, and Turris, with his incredible vision, saw Fiala in front for an easy tap in. So I mean, they're a good team. They scored a lot of goals in the regular season. So yeah, you're right. Frustration shouldn't be a part of it. No one likes to lose game 1 at home, and it's kind of puts a lot of pressure on them to perform well tomorrow night. But it wasn't like they were blown out. I think 4-1. There was an empty net goal. It looks a little more lopsided than the game actually was. So they just have to kind of regroup and do what gained them success in the regular season and against Colorado. And they're a highly skilled team, so the goals should start to fall when you get that many chances and that number of shots.
Yeah, the other thing in terms of the statistics, not necessarily telling the story of this game, for one, that the Jets won over the Nashville Predators. Pekka Rinne had 3 goals against on 16 shots and was lifted after the second period. Jussi Saros came out. And again, I don't want to read too much into it, but this was the second time that he's been removed from a game in the postseason. I guess I'm willing to give Peter Laviolette the benefit of the doubt when he said he was just trying to shake things up at that point.
Yeah, and there's really not much he could have done on the first two goals against. That was just an unfortunate set of circumstances, the way those happened. The third one he should have had, and he'll say that. But it's Pekka's one of those goalies that seems to thrive on a ton of shots against him. So there may have been a little rust. They put Jussi Saros in to play the third period, and he faced 2 shots over the course of, I guess, 18 or so minutes. He was pulled for the last 2, but yeah, Rinne, I wouldn't be worried about him at all. He'll be back in on Sunday, and you don't see him allowing too many bad goals, so I don't think there should be a lot of cause for concern there.
No, it's just it's happened twice now, and I know that there's going to be people that are immediately pointing to last year and some of the struggles that Pekka Rinne had in the postseason, but I don't think we're at quite that state. And one quick one before I let you go, Jim, is that you mentioned the defense, and there's so much depth on the Nashville Predators defense. I was really pleased that PK Subban was one of the finalists for the Norris Trophy, because I think he had a sensational year, and I'm not sure he was top of mind for everyone.
No, and I think he made such an impact. Ryan Ellis missed the first 3 months of the season with a knee injury, and Subban was paired with Alexei Mclellan, who's kind of an anchor, and not in a good way, possession-wise or wise. So PK had a fantastic season. Maybe his production dropped off a little, but I think that coincided with Ryan Ellis getting into the lineup and getting so many minutes. But I had Subban third on my Norris ballot, so. I guess I have the luxury of seeing him every day and knowing how good he was. So, but I guess some of my other fellow voters felt the same way, since he was one of the finalists. So, I've been on other shows and they're like, well, is PK even the best defenseman on his own team? Like, well, maybe not. I think so. But if you're Nashville, it's nice to have the luxury of having that kind of argument when you have really 4 world-class defensemen on one team, on one unit.
Yeah, it's a nice luxury to have. Jim Diamond covering the Nashville Predators for the Associated Press and Rinkside Report. At Diamond Hockey is how you follow him on Twitter. Thanks for this as always, Jim. We appreciate the time. Enjoy the rest of the series, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, my friend. Great speaking with you.
Thanks, Jim Diamond, with the latest on the Nashville Predators. Oh, yes, because you lose a game at home, everyone goes, what happened? This is Nashville. This is the President's Trophy winning team. But kind of forget about Winnipeg a little bit, because they were second in the division, and they only finished 3 points behind the Nashville Predators, which not everybody recognizes. Going to be a fun game too, going to be an interesting one, and loving the excitement and hype leading up to it out in front of Bridgestone Arena and much more in Winnipeg. That city is captivated by this series as well. Lots to get into as we talk about the 2 games on the Saturday schedule: Boston, Tampa, San Jose, and Vegas. Coverage, of course, begins in the afternoon with the 3 p.m. Eastern start of Boston and Tampa Bay. Some interesting TV stuff that came out of the first round and the early part of round number 2 with the National Hockey League. We'll get into that. And oh yes, Brian Burke is making the move to TV. I know many are excited about it and titillating at what he might say. I'm one who's not excited about it. We'll get into a couple of TV topics, a couple of other things right after the break. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with much more straight ahead.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues. Hour number 2 will feature guest Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We'll talk about game number 1 and look ahead to game number 2 between the Penguins and the Washington Capitals. Sarah Mclellan from the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, also with the latest on the Minnesota Wild. They will have a new general manager in place before the start of next season. We'll get the latest on that, how the search is going, and much more. We're just kind of nicely into the second round of the playoffs. Game number 1 for Boston and Tampa goes Saturday afternoon. Then all 4 series will be underway after the first round and through the first day or so of the second round of the playoffs. There's been some bragging by TV outlets about the sensational ratings for the NHL postseason. And I'm of two minds with this, that it's nice. It's kind of good to see the sort of story, but like so many things that involve numbers, it's how they're stated and how they are presented that makes things appear to be, well, incredible. I think it's positive news about increased viewership. If there are more people watching the NHL, I think it's positive. I think it's good. I think a lot of it comes in spite of the bad production and analysis that hockey fans have to endure to watch their favorite team. A lot of it on the national level in the U.S. The NHL PR machine was putting out the message that the North America audience for the Bruins and Leafs Game 7 that took place on Wednesday, this is the North American audience, 5.60 million people. That's a nice number, but a couple of things. Of that audience, 4.18 million are Canadian. The audience in the U.S. was 1.42 million. That's a significant difference, and maybe that's the best way to illustrate how much Canadians love hockey and how much it is part of the fabric. Now, as well, the U.S. telecast was on NBCSN. It wasn't on the main NBC network, so that's going to account for some of the drop-off there as well. The biggest number of the first round came on NBC with the Flyers and Penguins Game 6. That was a deciding game. Sunday afternoon, though, it was a 1.4 rating. That had an audience of 2.34 million people. Again, not bad, but that's not the 4.18 million that is being drawn in Canada. That's still just a little more than half of what Canadian TV is drawing. It's on the big network too. So those NBC ratings were up 27% as well. The NBC Saturday game, again, evening, Leafs Bruins elimination game, that audience was 1.9 million. Not even half of the 4.18. average ratings for the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs in the U.S., now this is across all the different networks, 769,000, which is up 4% from a year ago. Again, I think that's good. Positive to see growth in the U.S. audience where some of the worst coverage comes from. But understand this, NHL hockey is still very much a niche sport in the United States. It's not a complaint, but those are the facts. Those of us that watch it and enjoy it will continue to do so, and we need to understand that it is not taking over and stealing away time from the other major league sports. It just does not have the clout and the audience to do that. Those that wish to join us in embracing all that this great game has to offer, welcome. Come along with us. Don't believe everything you hear from the so-called expert analysts. Also part of the TV things I wanted to mention. The NHL Draft Lottery is Saturday night, this evening. In the pregame show for the Vegas-San Jose game, they're going to take you all the way up to the fourth spot in the draft, and then you have to wait until the second intermission to get the top 3 picks in this year's draft. Really? Do we really need to extend this out this long, a half-hour show, to whip through 11 or 12 picks, and then you have to wait 2 hours to get the final 3? I mean, I understand trying to prolong the drama, but that's maybe a bit much. Now, the other note, many are titillating at the thought of Brian Burke coming to television, and he's going to do some work for Sportsnet in Canada for the remaining rounds of the playoffs. And this is not surprising. When Brian Burke got dumped by the Maple Leafs a couple of years ago, this was before he went to Calgary, he considered television at that point. It was offered that there would be an opportunity, and he considered it, but he wanted to have one more shot at working with the team. He got it in Calgary, so now he's going to do some TV work, and I'm the one that's not enthusiastic about it, about seeing Brian Burke on TV, because they parade him out. They have over the years, whenever they need a salacious soundbite. The last thing that TV coverage of the National Hockey League needs is another belligerent, narrow-minded curmudgeon. And that is the persona he displays. And there are far too many of this type of analyst, commentator, whatever you want to call it. There is far too much of this kind of commentary and analysis on television. It's not, analyst is even too complimentary a term. How does this help grow the sport? How does this represent the current game? Oh, well, he was just with the organization and he's just leaving now. He's current. No, he's not. He still thinks that hockey should be the way it was in the 1970s, when there were far more fisticuffs and there was far more violence and far more nonsense, and the level of play wasn't nearly as skilled as it is now. I'm not suggesting that there shouldn't be a physical element, but that kind of stuck in the 70s analysis and, oh, why don't we have play like this? I mean, there's analysts on TV who are actually suggesting that that Evander Kane should not necessarily have been suspended for cross-checking Pierre-Edouard Bellemare in the head. That's not the type of analysis that we need. And Brian Burke is an old curmudgeon, belligerent, and that will titillate some. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sport, I'm not a fan. I don't think it's going to be good. Hour number 1 has flown by. Busy hour number 2 straight ahead. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
This is hour number 2 of the Saturday program. It is moving along quick, getting set for another good day of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Can't say busy day anymore because it's 2 games max through this round, and it'll taper off even further through the next round. But that's okay because it's good hockey. We're really getting to the good point of the Stanley Cup playoffs now. I'm really liking what's happened over the last few days. I'll get into more of that in just a second. Lots to talk about in terms of the Washington Capitals and Pittsburgh Penguins series. Pens up 1-0 after a come-from-behind victory against the Caps. A couple of days ago, Jason Mackey covers the Pens for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He will join us a little bit later on this hour. And also news from the Minnesota Wild, who will be replacing general manager Chuck Fletcher with someone else. He's out. That's kind of an interesting move for the Minnesota Wild. Sarah Mclellan covers the Wild for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. She will join us later on this hour as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Lots of nominations coming in. Loving them. Don't forget the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We like them via Twitter, via Instagram, email if you prefer, todd@hockeyunfiltered.com. Send us those nominations. We do it every Saturday. We like to recognize great dogs. Tell us your dog's story, your name, your dog's name. Send us a nice photo. We love dog photos. We're a dog-friendly program. Oh yeah, we'll keep it coming through the next hour. We'll pick a winner before the end of the show, and we'll put the picture up on our Facebook page, up on our website, and send it out through our social media channels. I think this is a good time, the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been interesting. Last night, Friday night, with the Nashville Predators and Winnipeg Jets, there was lots of anticipation about this series. 2 best teams in the West, 2 of the top teams in the NHL, finished only 3 points apart. Nashville, the catfish toss. There were a couple of good-sized ones out on the ice. Dierks Bentley singing the anthem. Nashville came with guns a-blazing, ready to go, 20 shots. But it's the Winnipeg Jets that wound up with a 1-0 lead after the first period. What? Yeah, they took advantage of their opportunity. They wouldn't have a lot of them, but when they had them, they put them in the back of the net. Chase Pecorine, 3 goals on 16 shots. Don't read too much into that. It was 3-0 after 2, and you're Peter Laviolette. You're trying to shake things up a little bit. UC Saros was good. Pecorine will be back in for game number 2. And I don't expect a lot different from this game. From game number 1. Nashville did a lot of good things. They need to maybe be a little more aggressive and get more second chances in front of the net, but they did a lot of good things. Winnipeg needs to adjust a little bit in that they need to play more of a Winnipeg Jets kind of game. They need to skate more, create chances off the rush, because we've seen it all season that Winnipeg is very good at that. They have a really good, talented lineup that was put together by GM Kevin Cheveldayoff. Mentioned the piece from Frank Saravelli on tsn.ca that I put up yesterday on our Facebook page. It's a really interesting read on how the Jets came together. Weren't good enough a couple of years ago. He realized that there's going to have to be changes made, going to have to get younger, going to have to get faster. A lot of other teams should recognize and realize this too and make the appropriate changes. We've seen it with some. Will we see it more with others? I hope so, because it makes for a fun game, makes for an exciting game, a lot of good stuff. And that one was really good on Friday night. But the games over the last few days have been really good. Thursday night, Washington and Pittsburgh, what a game. It was fantastic. I tweeted out during the game that if these two want to play like this for 6 or 7 games, I really don't care who wins. Fans, of course, of the Pens and Capitals would feel differently, but that was fun to watch. Terrific game. Wednesday night was an elimination game, so that gives you a little bit of juice right off the start. But the Maple Leafs and Bruins game this past week, it was also spectacular. I'm so happy it was the only game all night, because all you had to do was park yourself down and just embrace it, let it wash over you, and enjoy it, because it was fun right from the start. Two teams playing for their lives, giving you everything they could, lots of scoring, lots of drama. It's an enjoyable way to invest a few hours. Bruins get the win. Did you notice anything about those 3 games, by the way? Last night, Nashville and Winnipeg, and Thursday, Washington, Pittsburgh, and even Maple Leafs and Bruins. Best games of the postseason so far, among the best games of the postseason so far, and very little nonsense after the whistles. No BS, no pushing and shoving after the play. There's always going to be a little bit, but very little of that kind of nonsense. Looked to me like there was some good communication from the referees as part of that, telling players not to do anything stupid. Sure, the stakes of the Game 7 was high for the Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins, but really a very little bit of the nonsense that has gone on in a few others early on. Very few penalties, skill coming to the forefront. We all benefit from that. I'm not saying get rid of hitting. There's still lots of physical play, but I'm thinking it's pretty good. A couple other things from the first few days of the second round. The remaining teams have some of the best building experiences for games. I mean, the first few days of the second round, all the teams in the 4 series have interesting storylines throughout them. But the in-building experience that we're getting some of through TV, and if you're listening on radio as well, there's nothing like being in there. And the noise level is turned up to 11, a la Spinal Tap, because it's the playoffs. But watch these teams during the regular season too, and I think you'll believe the same thing. They have some of the best in-building experiences for games. It's pretty awesome. Talked about the Preds a little bit earlier in the program. The mystery star anthem singer that they've had through the playoffs. Again, it was Dierks Bentley on Friday night. They did it all last season through the postseason. It was terrific. The smash car turns into a smash plane out front because they're playing the Jets in this round. That's really smart. I like that. I know not everybody's in favor of it, but I dig the catfish toss. I think it's cool. Not everybody likes it. I like the chants that the Preds have in their building as well. There's other teams that do it sometimes, but I think Nashville has really led the way in a lot of areas. They had the special Jets chant going last night. It's kind of modeled after the New York Jets football team chant, but it's pretty funny. I love it when the Preds fans also chant, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault." And at the end of the first, the second, and the third period, PA announcer Paul McCann does the 1 minute remaining in the period announcement, and the entire crowd chants Thanks, Paul. I like that. I think that's fun. That's nice work. I think that's really embracing the experience and and fans having fun with their team as well, and really enjoying it. This is the benefit of the postseason, though. You get to see fans who don't see as much of other teams in their building, and the great atmosphere that's generated. That's another reason why we enjoy this game so much. In Winnipeg, Nashville, who's not necessarily as familiar with it, wait till you see the whiteout, the lively crowd in Winnipeg, also very loud, really vocal. They get into it as well. Often we'll find a player to focus on the opposition. That's fun. Vegas has been amazing in year one. How about the experience in building at T-Mobile? Music, pre-game shows that they've done. They did it again before the San Jose Sharks game number 1. Had the night skate out, and the other guy who was carrying the San Jose Sharks flag, well, of course, he ended up on his back on the ice. Washington and Pittsburgh, they've got loud buildings. Boston's great. Tampa's fantastic. San Jose's a good building out west too. But this is a lot of fun. This is the fun part of the postseason. You get to see and experience all that's going on. I think it's pretty terrific. And we'll get a couple of more games on Saturday. Coming up, it's the Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning. Game number 1 of that series. It's the last series to get going because Boston, of course, played until Wednesday. Only seems fair that they get a couple of days off before facing the Tampa Bay Lightning. That could be the key in this series. At least for game number 1. Boston went longer, a little more taxed than the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa got a week off. Go to the beach for a couple days. Put your feet up. Relax. So John Cooper said to the team, go, take it easy. Now they get back to work. Both teams are pretty healthy. I think it's going to be a real interesting game number 1 between those two teams. And also, game number 2, as I mentioned, the San Jose Sharks and Vegas Golden Knights going to be a bit of a different lineup because, of course, Evander Kane is out. I have no problem with this suspension. Some people do, saying, well, it's the playoffs and you got to expect a little bit of a physical beating. You cross-check a guy to the head, you should get suspended. I don't think that's a big stretch. I don't think that's a big ask. Cross-check a guy in the head, you will get suspended. I thought it would have been inconsistent of the NHL not to suspend Evander Kane. What happened to Ryan Hartman in the first round against the Colorado Avalanche? Let his emotions get away with him. Big cross-check to the head. Sat for a game with suspension. Hasn't been able to get back into the lineup since. Now, that's not going to be the case with San Jose because they need Evander Kane, and he's been terrific since coming over at the trade deadline. But when it's late in the game, it's 5-0. You have shown no signs of life or chance of coming back, and there's a scrum in front of your opponent's net, and one of your teammates is already getting a slashing penalty. Don't make the stupid choice of cross-checking another opponent in the head. That's not a big ask. So yeah, even though Kane is out of the lineup for the San Jose Sharks, San Jose will be a much better team in game number 2. You have to expect that. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for San Jose in game number 1 of that series. Everything Vegas shot seemed to go into the net. Martin Jones gets chased, and it's a matter of running the clock after that. I'm interested to see what happens in game number 2. That'll be the evening game. And of course, in the afternoon, it's Boston, Tampa Bay opening up their series. Should also be a fun one. Sarah Mclellan will join us later on this hour, get the latest on the Minnesota Wild and their search for a new general manager. Chuck Fletcher is out. And in the next segment, Jason Mackey, who covers the Pittsburgh Penguins for the Post-Gazette, will join us. We'll talk to Jason about a come-from-behind victory by the Pittsburgh Penguins in game number 1 against the Washington Capitals. And is it here we go again. It's just going to find another way for the Caps to lose a series against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll talk about that and much more. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Yes, we're still looking for your nominations for the HU Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us your photos. Tell us your name, your dog's name, and why they should be recognized as the dog of the day. We do it every Saturday. Pick a winner. Like to recognize and honor great dogs. Photo will go up in our gallery on our website and our Facebook page and much more. A little Pens talk with Jason Mackey coming up right after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Saturday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, live at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at hockeyunfiltered.com, streaming live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. Take you up to the top of the hour. Sarah Mclellan will join us a little bit later on. We'll talk about the Minnesota Wild and their search for a new general manager, some other questions about that team as well. Get you set for the Saturday schedule, Boston and Tampa in the afternoon, San Jose and Vegas in the evening. The series between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals enjoying an extra day off between games 1 and 2. Pens with a 1-0 series lead after a 3-2 victory against the Washington Capitals. Jason Mackey covers the Pens for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. At JMackeyPG is how you follow him on Twitter. And Jason, I suspect a lot of people are thinking after game number 1, here we go again. This is going to be another way that the Capitals find a way to lose against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Well, I think that's going to be the narrative until somebody in Washington disproves it, and they certainly haven't done it this postseason. I believe they've had a 2-goal lead 5 times and have blown it 3 of those times, I want to say. And then just the way this one sort of came apart at the seams for the Capitals in the third period in game 1. I mean, they just need to be able to either play with a lead, get a lead, play with a little bit more confidence, and that much has not happened.
If you've watched the Pittsburgh Penguins through the regular season and into the playoffs as well, even at numerous times in the regular season, they've been down either early in a game, late in a game by a goal or a couple of goals, but there's always seems to be a confidence with the Pittsburgh Penguins that, yeah, we're down, but we're not out of this game. And I find it hard to put my finger on exactly what it is that gives them that confidence. Certainly they have a really talented roster, but there's something about this team that also, even in adversity like this, they can find a way to come back and win games like that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things at play here. And first and foremost, and then, not to be sarcastic or anything, but they just have good players. I mean, you have the horses on your, you're going to be able to erase some deficits. And I think that's a little bit of what we saw against Washington. The Penguins' top line of Sidney Crosby, Jake Guentzel, and Patrick Hornqvist have just been playing really, really well. Guentzel is, the hottest player in the league, in my opinion. But I think there's also sort of a comfortability and inner belief and all this stuff. And the Penguins have just played a lot of high-stakes games over the past 2 years and change. And they're used to having an environment where they feel like they're playing reasonably well. Hockey's a funny game. They're just not necessarily leading at that point, and they have the faith that it'll come around. And I think it's the complete opposite of the Capitals, where if things aren't going well, you have a tendency to want to adjust or do things differently or take a little bit more of a chance when you don't necessarily have to. The Penguins just have a comfortability in a lot of different games, and they've seen a lot of different things. And I think that experience is a huge part in how they're able to come back.
Yeah, it's an understanding that we have talented players, we're doing the right things, and even though we're not putting the puck in the net at this particular moment, that, to use a simple philosophy, life goes in a circle. Eventually it starts coming around and comes back to your way, and they will start going in for us, and they've proven it time and time again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you look at game one specifically, that first period, they weren't very good early on. I think they'll be the first ones to tell you that. The odd man rushes allowed. It was sort of the same stuff we saw late in the regular season on Kuznetsov's goal, for instance. Dumoulin gets caught pinching. Jake Guentzel's supposed to get back and cover for him. He's sort of lackadaisical, not getting back there as quickly as he should have, and they got bit. Another one, Chris Letang, was trapped up ice, and whatever. I mean, that happened. They steadied themselves and still were able to generate offense. If anything, I wouldn't have been surprised if that was a 3-3 game halfway through as opposed to 1-0 or 2-0. And so, they were able to generate offense. It's just, there's a difference between scoring goals and generating offense. And like I was saying before, they have the experience of seeing it turn in the other direction after a little while of sort of chopping wood. And so they're able to just keep doing that and not get deterred.
And the other part of it too is we talk so much about their offensive output and their talented and skilled players, but they also have that stability in goal. And a lot of people wondered about Matt Murray this year and not having the Marc-Andre Fleury safety net behind him. I think we can put that behind us now. I don't think there's really anything to worry about with Matt Murray going forward. He played a great game in game number 1 of this series, and especially that late save lunging across the net.
Oh, it isn't going to stop people in Pittsburgh from panicking. For some reason, I don't understand what is going on with this narrative for the life of me. Matt Murray has 2 Stanley Cups. He's 23 years old, and he has played his rear end off in the playoffs. And yet I don't know whether it's because Fleury has been so dominant for Vegas, which is great. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is a really good goaltender. It's not to take anything away from him, but Matt Murray's his own guy, and he's been really, really, really good. I thought he was average to maybe a little below average in game 6. Other than that, if you watch the games, it wasn't like he was fighting the puck. There were just some fluke things that happened. I thought Murray was tremendous. He's been tremendous a lot of the playoffs. I think a lot of people sort of want to, at least around here anyway, point to the regular season and say, oh, he wasn't good enough. That stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the least. It's a long regular season. If you perform in the playoffs, you should be able to, get a pass, especially when you go through a couple of injuries and your dad dies. I mean, that is not exactly the easiest circumstance to navigate for a 23-year-old.
Is that maybe what the doubt is, that there were the couple of injuries? I mean, it's a tragedy that his father passed away at his young age, but is that the other part of it, is because, well, we're just not sure if he's going to get hurt again because he suffered a couple of injuries?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. I think it's probably a combination of he has had some injuries. He's had trouble staying healthy for an extended stretch. I don't think he's injury prone, but I mean, you can't deny that stuff has happened. And so I think Penguins fans, at least until he does it for an extended period of time, are probably going to watch him, and they get worried at every little thing. At the same time, Fleury was just so beloved here. I don't even know if I could properly put it into words. I mean, he's one of the most well-liked Pittsburgh athletes of all time, right up there with somebody like Jerome Bettis or Roberto Clemente or Willie Stargell. So you're following sort of a legend, and it's a tough thing. And then you see that other guy go and play as well as he had in Vegas. It's not a fair grading scale to Matt Murray. You look at, if he has one bad game, and he did in Game 6, and they still won it, and they won the series, and people start talking about Fleury and what he's doing, and there's just been this constant chatter in Pittsburgh about the expansion draft, and did they make the right move? And give me a break, they got less money and 2 cups. I love Fleury. Yeah, I will defend him, through and through. I think he's a tremendous person and goaltender, but they made a business decision that was a very smart business decision.
Yeah, it was. And it's funny how people have short memories, because it was 5 years ago that there were people ready to run Marc-Andre Fleury out of town. Some even suggested, he should be bought out of the remainder of his contract because of a bad playoff or two. And it's amazing the short-term memory that people have about that situation.
Oh, I know. And the biggest critique of Fleury, and I think some of it was fair, I think some of it wasn't, was that he wasn't good enough in the playoffs. And you have a guy who is good enough in the playoffs, and then you say, he's not good enough in the regular season. You sound like a 4-year-old, for crying out loud. I mean, you just want to complain about something at that point. You got a guy who performs in the playoffs. He's winning Stanley Cups. He's 23 years old. He plays on a bargain contract. I believe it's $3.75 million. They're going to do something long-term with him. He doesn't have the same personality as Fleury. He's still a genuinely, really, really, really good human being. And I could go on and on citing personal examples, but I won't waste everybody's time. But he's a very good person. He's just different than Marc-Andre. That's it.
I think you might have found it right there. It's a different personality, as Marc-Andre Fleury is really warm and engaging. Jason Mackey is with us from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette covering the Penguins. At @JMackeyPG is how you follow him on Twitter. Pens and Caps have an extra day off. Game 2 of that series goes on Sunday afternoon. Honestly, Jason, I think that the extra day off favors Pittsburgh versus Washington, because they have to let that loss roll around in their head for another day.
Yeah, and realistically, too, they're going to practice here in a few minutes, around 1 o'clock in our time. But Evgeny Malkin's going to practice. I think there's a good chance the extra day is going to allow him to play. He might not have been able to play if the game was today, because I think he still has to get a practice under his belt. They didn't skate yesterday, and whatever. But logistically, it creates an advantage for the Penguins, getting a really, really, really great player back. But yeah, as far as sort of stewing on that blown lead, and you know what? I almost feel it would be easier for the Capitals to have to walk around with just a flat performance. Like, let's say they lost 5-0, just didn't show up whatsoever in Game 1. But you can almost just chalk that up to nothing. But there's just such a history between the Penguins and the Capitals and blowing leads. And, Game 1 just fed into the whole, psychological thing that exists between these teams. And, you do that, and then you have to think about it for an extra day. Can't be easy for Washington.
No, absolutely. You mentioned that Malkin looks like he's going to skate during the practice today. Is there any update on Carl Hagelin? Maybe not before practice.
Yeah, not before practice. We'll find out if he's here and skating. I don't believe he is. I don't believe he's going to practice or anything today. He's been skating on his own. He's probably skating on his own back in Pittsburgh. I think they're going to practice after this game on Monday. I think Hagelin back then, and a chance for Game 3 is probably more realistic.
Yeah, that's and maybe that's part of the frustration too with the Caps and their fans, is that here was an opportunity, game number 1 in your home building. There's no Malkin, there's no Carl Hagelin, so we have a disadvantaged Pittsburgh team, and they still came back and beat us. And again, we have to let that roll around in our head for a couple of days. But you said it, Sidney Crosby is just a heck of a player, and that whole top line has been sensational through the postseason. And there's other weapons that they still have, like Derek Brassard and Patrick Hornquist when he's in the lineup, and Chris Letang has had a good playoff. There's just so many things that they can throw at you.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, going back to your first point, that was being talked about so much around here, is that the Capitals had every chance in the world to win this game. No Evgeny Malkin in this one, no Carl Hagelin, and then last year they played the Penguins without Chris Letang, without Sidney Crosby. I believe it was Game 4, it was either game 3 or game 4, where Crosby had the concussion and the Penguins still found a way to win. The year before that, they played the Penguins and Letang was suspended, and the Penguins still found a way to win. So, even disadvantaged Pittsburgh teams have been able to beat the Capitals. But yeah, I mean, and then to your second point about still having the horses and the players, and I look at Derek Brassard. He's playing right now with Connor Sherry and Brian Rust, and that line has been really good. It was a little bit quiet in game 1. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn it up a few notches. You get Malkin back, and Phil Kessel has actually had a really quiet postseason. He has 1 goal in 7 games. I believe in 5 of the 7, he's had either 0 or 1 shot on goal. And that's just not like Phil. I mean, he is due to break out in a big way and start shooting the puck more, which they've been trying to get him to do. But and go on down the list. We can talk about Patrick Hornquist. We can talk about Crosby, Letang, Justin Schultz. I mean, they have a lot of offensive firepower, and I think that's going to be tough for any team to contain.
Yeah, and one more quick one before I let you go. The other thing that we should mention is Brian Dumoulin has played a really good postseason.
He really has. Dumoulin's been tremendous. I believe in I might be off, 1 or 2 here, but like his past 13 postseason games, he's plus 12, something like that. I mean, he just plays such solid hockey in the postseason. Really good defending one-on-one. He's handled himself quite well against Alex Ovechkin. Early on, part of the issue that the Penguins had was that pairing with Dumoulin and Letang. They were caught on the ice for the first 2 goals, but by and large, Dumoulin has just been so good, so confident, really good postseason player. I know that every level he's been at, like midget, junior, college, pros, he's just won. And he has that personality. He's just a guy you like to be around. He's fun. He's the team DJ. He's the team fantasy football commissioner. He was the dude slamming 3 Bud Lights in San Jose at the same time after they won the first cup. He's not a party animal. He just has a good time. And, he's good for this team.
Got to have that fun atmosphere. Jason Mackey covering the Pittsburgh Penguins for the Post-Gazette, at JMackeyPG to follow him on Twitter. We'll let you get to practice, Jason. We always appreciate the time, and hopefully we can talk again soon. Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Pleasure. Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette with the latest on the Penguins. Malkin looks like he's going to skate today. Carl Hagelin, not so much. And if the Penguins get Evgeny Malkin in game number 2, and the Washington Capitals have had an extra day to think about that come-from-behind loss in game number 1, yes, but they came back after losing 2 home games to the Columbus Blue Jackets in round number 1. Yeah, but this is the Penguins. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, our Twitter and Instagram handles. Sarah Mclellan will join us in the next segment, a little bit on the Minnesota Wild and their search for a new general manager and some other team news as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. We'll be back with much more coming right up after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit NovaProductDesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Saturday edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis continues up to the top of the hour. It's been a busy show, covered a lot of ground. We'll get you set for the Saturday schedule in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning in the afternoon contest. The evening game with the San Jose Sharks in Vegas to take on the Knights as well. There are other actions going on in the National Hockey League with teams that have been eliminated from postseason play, one of those being the Minnesota Wild. They have dismissed general manager Chuck Fletcher, and the search is on for a replacement. Sarah Mclellan covers the Wild in the National Hockey League for the Minneapolis Star Tribune. Follow her on Twitter at Sarah__McLellan. And Sarah joins us now. Sarah, we expected that there would be changes to the Minnesota Wild after losing out in the first round of the postseason. Were you surprised that Chuck Fletcher did not have his contract renewed and that was the first change made?
You know what? I was interested to see kind of what that first move would be, because a week ago when the Wild season ended, I think if you looked at just this season kind of by itself and analyzed just what happened in 2017, 2018, it wasn't a bad season. This was a team that overcame a lot of injuries, to persevere, to be one of the top three teams in the Central, eclipsed 100 points. Made the playoffs for a sixth straight year. So there was a lot to like, I think, about this season for it to, really have this team be in a first round matchup, because there was so many drawbacks and adversity that the team had to overcome to get there. But I think when you take the bigger picture look and you analyze this season next to all the ones that came before it, and it was another first round loss, another 5-game exit. I think then you could understand why, the Wild owner had an appetite for change, and it was just time for someone new to come in, he felt, to try to get that team past the first round, which has been a struggle for this franchise.
Yeah, and you would wonder, though, that another first-round exit, the third consecutive year that the Minnesota Wild have been dispatched in the first round of the postseason. I think the immediate response with many is, well, that's maybe going to be a coaching change, or there's going to be some adjustments into the coaching staff. That hasn't happened that we've seen. The first move was the general manager. And I guess part of that is because Chuck Fletcher's contract has expired and a decision needed to be made with that. And also that there's maybe got to be a bit of a course correction with the Minnesota Wild and their roster and how this team is assembled. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Obviously, Fletcher's deal was expiring, and so there would have to have been some type of new deal or extension. But you're right. I think it is, reflective now of this roster, and that the core of this roster has been assembled for, a number of years. And so it's really been the group that hasn't been able to get past the first round and have long-term success in the playoffs. So now I think it is time, in that sense, probably from an ownership perspective, to bring someone new in, to take a fresh look at this roster, mainly this core, and see what needs to change. And, perhaps, make a drastic move. I don't think it's going to be anything of a major overhaul where, this team is rebuilding next season, but someone to kind of maybe spark it, because as much as this core has been talented enough to make the playoffs year in, year out, which is a great accomplishment. I don't think we can diminish what it means to be in the playoffs 6 years in a row, since I think only Pittsburgh and Anaheim have done that as well. But, some type of change to finally make this roster go a little bit further.
As we've seen over the last year or two in the National Hockey League, the league seems to be getting younger. The league seems to be getting quicker. And is that the biggest challenge for the Minnesota Wild?
I think a lot of it is probably, a little bit with speed, maybe a little bit with strength, maybe some of those youthful attributes. But then again, there are some young pieces on this roster that have to be encouraging. I mean, you just look at the play of Matt Dumba during the playoffs. He's 23 years old. We saw Jordan Greenway emerge in his rookie season, and he really looked like he gained confidence from the playoffs. But, I think it's just finding the right mix offensively with this team. I think that'll probably be the spotlighted area this offseason. For this group to get shut out in, games 4 and 5 and end its season in a drought. I think it's probably just finding that mix, because there is some talent there. Eric Staal scored 42 goals. Jason Zucker scored 33, but at the most critical time of the season, the offense struggled. So, maybe it is more speed. Maybe it is a little bit more size on the wings, and so there's bodies that can crash the net and win puck battles more often on the boards. But it just seems to be finding that right mix offensively is probably going to be key for this team this offseason.
Sarah Mclellan is our guest. She covers the Minnesota Wild and the National Hockey League for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. At Sarah_McLellan to follow her on Twitter. Where are we in terms of the stage of searching for a new general manager? Paul Fenton, we know, has been interviewed, and there's an issue with Mr. Leopold, who's due to have surgery. Is the switch in the new hire going to be done before that, or where do we sit right now?
You know what? It's still, I think, part of the process, and I think it's still status quo right now with the search. But I wouldn't be surprised if this probably is wrapped up sooner rather than later. I think there's always probably some urgency not to let these things linger and to get your staff solidified. Especially, obviously the draft is coming up, so that prep is ongoing, and the rest of the hockey operations staff is intact, and the coaching staff is here. So I think it goes status quo for everybody else in the meantime. But I think the fact that Fenton was interviewed only 2 days after the news emerged with the team not bringing Chuck Fletcher back, I think that probably points to the urgency and what maybe we can expect for this process. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ends sooner rather than later.
And then becomes the question of how do they adjust and move forward? Because I know you mentioned the offensive challenges of the roster, but there's a couple of age things that stick out to me too, with Zach Parise and Ryan Suter both having was it half a dozen years left on their contract, and that's a difficult thing to have. Those two are pillars of the Minnesota Wild roster and signed there because they wanted to be there. But on top of that, you have Mikko Koivu, who is 35 years of age, and Eric Staal had a great season, but he also is 33. And that's why I keep coming back to the age of this roster. These are not players that are going to improve. Their production is going to taper off as the years move on.
Yeah, I think the age is something that this group is well aware of, and with some of these contracts, they're on the books for a lot of years. And so, I think that's just a reality the Wild has accepted. I don't think I know Leopold has mentioned how vital, the Parise and Suter acquisitions were for this franchise. And you look how impactful those players were for even just this season. They missed a lot of time. And when they weren't on Parise specifically, when he wasn't on the ice, it was noticed. And especially late in the playoffs, late in the season, without Ryan Suter, that was a tough blow. And, I don't necessarily think the outcome of that first-round series would have changed with Suter in the mix, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild had won one or two more games, because he's just that type of steady anchor on the blue line. So, I think those are just realities, ages, contracts. They're facts. It's what the Wild has to deal with. But I still feel like they think there's still room to tweak, room to improve, room to make this roster better. And now it's time for someone to come in and kind of deliver on that vision.
So we've heard that Mr. Leopold was frustrated and that he needs a fresh set of eyes. What's the feeling of the fan base in Minnesota? Is that part of the growing frustration, is that they've been such loyal fans, such enthusiastic fans, and filling that building, and we have another early exit, and that's part of the difficulty with this team?
I think so. I think Leopold probably had a good feel in terms of the fan base, and has a pulse on how it's feeling about the team and the season. And I sense that there was probably frustration and disappointment. And, this is such a passionate fan base, and, they care so much about the Wild. I think it was probably tough to have another first round exit, another 5-game exit. And, I think that these changes and decisions were probably made with that group in mind, and how much their support has meant in wanting to deliver a championship to the state of hockey. I do believe that. So, I think that, now we'll see how that changes the group. Now we'll see how, what sparks, this team to possibly get past that hurdle next year. And if this is the change that delivers that, I think this is a fan base that's very receptive to, that type of improvement. I think they've been waiting for it.
Yeah, they have been. And Bruce Boudreau, all indications are that he's coming back and he'll be the head coach again for his third season now with the Minnesota Wild. What were his comments, and how does he feel about this roster and moving forward? Does he also believe that injuries played a significant role and that was part of the reason for their early exit? Does he have confidence in this roster, or does he think there's going to be some significant changes as well?
No, I think he feels that the group isn't far off. He kind of reiterated too, this is not a rebuild. This is not a roster that needs a major facelift. I think he feels that there's adjustments that need to be made. So I think everyone kind of internally is on the same page there. But I think he's even confident in this offense. If these players come back, every single one of them, that they can figure out a way to produce more timely, and I sense that, now he's had 2 years of, being at the helm here of this Wild roster. And, I definitely sense his confidence that, there's optimism with this group and that there is potential, for it to be better. Although, he does expect some tweaks to happen. He does expect some change to hit this roster over the offseason.
Sarah Mclellan covering all things Minnesota Wild in the National Hockey League for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, at Sarah_McLellan to follow her on Twitter. Good info as always, Sarah. We appreciate the time, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you, Sarah Mclellan, with the latest on the Minnesota Wild. I don't know. I'm finding that this Minnesota team, they just seem to be locked into a corner that they can't get out of because of the age of some of their players. Zach Parise, Mikko Koivu, Eric Stahl, who had a marvelous season, absolutely. But how many more of those is he going to have at age 33? Ryan Suter was terrific on defense, logging so many minutes, but he too is 33 years old and is under a long-term contract and eats up a significant portion of the salary cap. Between he and Parise, it's $15 million per season. Koivu's got 2 more at 5.5 per. Michael Granlund has 2 more at 5 3/4. He's younger though at 26, but still, this is a tight roster that doesn't have a lot of maneuverability. And whoever comes in as the new general manager, that's going to be the trick, to try to maneuver this roster to get some younger players in. I think this team is kind of at the stage that, yes, they need to make some changes. They need to make some adjustments, but I think they've got to be the right ones too. And I'm not sure that you have a couple of locked in pieces that are going to be able to get moved. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram. We'll take it right up to the top of the hour. We'll have our Dog of the Day winner and much more. Get you set for the Saturday games on the playoff schedule and whatever else we can squeeze in on the Saturday edition. Don't forget, we're back again tomorrow, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. If you miss an episode, you can subscribe to our podcast through iTunes, through iHeartRadio, also available on our website and the app powered by Primetime Radio, including our little Saturday podcast, a little midweek hockey talk. They drop on Wednesday afternoon. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, final segment coming up after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Final segment for the Saturday program. We'll be back again tomorrow. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. Oh, it's going to be a good day with hockey this afternoon. Boston Bruins, Tampa Bay Lightning in game number 1 of that series. This is the important game for the Lightning in the sense that you have a real opportunity. You have a real opportunity today. Couple of days off, feet up, time at the beach. Hopefully you didn't get sunburn. Little practice the last couple of days. Bruins, of course, were going the distance with Toronto. Say what you will about matchups, lineups, goaltending, defense, the line combinations, etc. Here's what I think is the key to this game. Bruins were taxed much more physically and mentally in round number 1 than Tampa. They were also on a significant emotional high with a comeback victory in game number 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs so they could move on. It takes time to process all that, to both recover physically and to reset emotionally. It will be quite likely to me that the Bruins aren't as emotionally invested in game number 1 of round number 2 versus Tampa as they were in game number 7 versus Toronto. 2 weeks going head-to-head, you're solely focused on that, takes time to flush that out, process, and then get reset and focused on Tampa. This is what the Lightning have to take advantage of. Slam them right from the start. Do not let them become engaged, take away their will to compete. Do it early, hold on, play the whole game. If the Bolts come out and jump on them, they can steamroll them. Not saying it's going to be like a 7-0 Vegas over San Jose victory. Come out, establish yourself as the better team, the team that wants it more, score a couple of goals, goes a long way to getting up 1-0 in the series. If they don't, it's a huge missed opportunity for Tampa. I like Tampa in this series. I like them to win. I picked them to win. The other winners I chose in the second round, if you missed it on our little Saturday podcast, picked Tampa, picked San Jose, picked Winnipeg, and Pittsburgh. I like Tampa in this series, though. They're two really good teams, lots of similarities, some established veterans that have been successful. Obviously, the Tampa team doesn't have as many Stanley Cup winners as Pittsburgh or Boston, but a lot of good young talent on both, strong defense on both, good goaltending on both. It's another instance, two good teams in the conference facing off in the second round. They're pretty healthy. Let's not nitpick that it's a second round matchup instead of a conference final. Let's enjoy it. Should be good. Tampa has an opportunity to take control of this series. In the other game on Saturday evening, Vegas Golden Knights did overwhelm, as I mentioned, the San Jose Sharks, rolling up a 7-0 victory. perfect in the postseason. 5 games, 5 wins. Marc-Andre Fleury, three shutouts in those 5 games. That's unbelievable. Don't expect another 7-0 score. I love the way Pete DeBoer reacted after the loss. Didn't freak out, didn't lose his mind, didn't scream and yell, didn't deny that it was a beatdown either. Pete DeBoer said, yep, they got a few on us. We got steamrolled. They kept coming. They pumped a bunch of goals in, but that's okay. We've lost lopsided games before, and we got it back on track. We got it moving in the right direction, and we'll do it again. Sure, there's some that are going to suggest it was wrong for the Vegas Golden Knights to embarrass the San Jose Sharks the way they did. They're wrong. Vegas wasn't going full throttle through till the final buzzer. They did not have their foot pressed firmly down on the accelerator all the way through to the final buzzer. Everything went right for them. Everything went wrong for the San Jose Sharks. New day, new game. Going to be a different outcome in the sense that it will not be a 7-0 score, Vegas over San Jose. Vegas may very well win game number 2 and remain perfect, headed back to San Jose with a 2-0 lead. I do not expect another shellacking of 7-0 against the San Jose Sharks. It's too good a team. It is too good a team. No, Vegas was not trying to embarrass them. They were up 5-0, and when you have a player take a stupid major penalty and get tossed out of the game with a 5-minute major, you're at the end of the game, and you're bound to pump in a couple of more goals. That's not embarrassing a team. And I'm not worried about the Sharks being without Evander Kane, who was suspended for his stupid act late in the game with the cross-check across the head of Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. He was suspended, rightfully so. This is kind of similar to the Knights' first-round series against the LA Kings. A significant player was suspended in game number 2. That would be Drew Doughty. And that was perhaps the best game that the LA Kings played against the Vegas Golden Knights. Even though they were swept in the first round, that was probably the best game that they played. Even though Evander Kane is out, that's an impact, sure, but it does not mean that Vegas is rolling over San Jose one more time. They've got speed that can handle Vegas. Not saying they're going to win, but I wouldn't rule it out. Yes, I picked the Sharks in this series, but they've got speed. They have a lot of talent and skill on that team. You don't get to the point total that they had. They went down to the last day of the regular season, and it was touch and go whether were going to finish second or third ahead of Anaheim. Fell back, finished third, still disposed of the Anaheim Ducks. I expect a much better game from San Jose. I do not expect Martin Jones to be lifted after allowing a bunch of goals go in against him. Martin Jones has bounced back throughout the season when there's been struggles, when there's been difficulty. I expect the same. Vegas is going to come out just like they did in game number 1, try to use their speed game and pressure and force the opposition. San Jose will handle it better. The 4 defenders on the ice will not part, allowing for a Vegas Golden Knight forward to skate easily through and depart and deposit the puck in the net the way it occurred in game number 1. I expect a much different game. By the way, a terrific piece on San Jose Sharks defenseman Paul Martin from Emily Kaplan of ESPN, who has made a huge comeback to be part of this team this year. Really good story about how he battled back from injury, got sent down to the minors, wondered if he was going to have a future with the San Jose Sharks, has managed to come all the way back. It's a really good story from Emily Kaplan at ESPN.com. Our thanks to Sarah Mclellan, our thanks to Jason Mackey, to Jim Diamond, and Kristen Anderson, all for joining us on the program today. We'll be back again tomorrow at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. There's our Dog of the Day winner from @JeffJacks. What a cutie. With the Bruins hat. Going to be a good game with Boston and Tampa in the afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy a great day of hockey. Back Sunday morning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific with another edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with SeatGiant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.